Like I was saying, it's FTX. It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
I don't think so.
Don't miss out on crypto, NFTs, and the next best thing. During 2022, the top 3 cryptocurrency exchanges at the time were Binance, which was owned by the CEO Changpeng Zhao. I'll be calling him CZ from now on. At the second, we had Coinbase, owned by a man named Brian Armstrong. And finally, you had the star of the show, FTX, owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, also known as SBF. But who was Sam Bankman-Fried? With a quick search of Google, he was seemingly an unusual man, known for wearing loose t-shirts, shorts, and sandals that he would even wear to industry events. He typically had messy and unkempt hair and was famous to sleep 4 hours in a beanbag. With a net worth of $22.5 billion at just 29, he was featured on the Forbes 400 as the youngest billionaire at the time. And according to Forbes, he's dedicated to making as much money as possible solely so he can give it away.
My goal is to, put myself in a position where I'll be able to donate almost everything that I make.
Sam Bankman had successfully built this public persona of this nerdy guy who doesn't care about spending money on himself, but rather he earns for the people. This was intentional to gain trust from the investors and the public, but not much was known of this guy before FTX. I mean, how did this guy go from not owning a single Bitcoin to becoming 41st richest American in just the span of 4 years? Sam's journey began at a maths camp, and after graduating from the MIT, he worked full-time in the Jane Street Capital, one of the largest trading firms in the world. At this point, he was earning a good amount of money. But you see, Sam Bankman wanted more. So in 2017, he left Jane Street Capital and co-founded his own trading firm. Along with Tara McCauley, they called it Alameda Research. Within a few months, the two had managed to persuade wealthy altruists to invest in their companies. Back then, the prices of cryptocurrencies were different on different exchanges in different countries. For example, if you bought from one exchange and sold it to another, you were essentially looking at thousands of free dollars per trade. It was essentially a free money glitch, and Alameda Research took full advantage of that. But by early 2018, people had already started to catch up, and this was no longer profitable. The firm was now in a state of chaos, losing millions of dollars per month. Tara McCauley and the rest of the management weren't happy, so they left Alameda Research in April 2018, and by the next month, the majority of the Alameda Research staff had resigned. Now, to save what was left of the company, Sam Bankman started to build his team back up. The major actors included Gary Wang, 25 years old. He had met Sam Bankman at a maths camp in high school, but he was now the technical wizard behind Alameda Research. Caroline Ellison, 23 years old. She was a colleague of Sam Bankman who worked full-time in Jane Street Capital. They both bonded over the effective altruism, and she would go on to become Sam's girlfriend later on. When Caroline joined as a trader, she had more experience than any other trader in Alameda Research and later became the CEO of the company. With the team back up, the firm now needed money to trade, and so they started to pitch the investors, promising, "We haven't had a losing streak in 6 months," or 15% annualized fixed rate loans with no downsides. Like, this pitch was ridiculous to say the least, and fair to say, no one really bought it. In a crypto exchange like Binance, every time you make a transaction, you're paying a small amount as fees. This is how the companies are able to stay profitable, no matter if you win or lose the trade. In May 2019, FTX emerged, Sam's own crypto exchange company. The other co-founder was Gary Wang. Remember the technical brains I talked about earlier? Well, now he owns 17% of FTX and 10% of Alameda Research. But despite Sam Bankman's previous history, he still somehow managed to convince the venture capitals to invest in FTX. Even the biggest exchange in crypto space, Binance, well, they wanted a piece of the pie. So in August 2019, CZ, the owner of the Binance, invested $100 million into the FTT token. Now, with the pockets full of money, Sam's only goal was to make it as big as he possibly can. And so he did.
TSM a $210 million deal with a crypto exchange known as FTX, which will rename all of their rosters as TSM FTX.
The Miami Heat's home court rebranded into the FTX Arena under a $135 million deal. Steph Curry, one of the biggest names in basketball, was announced as the global brand ambassador. Tom Brady, the most famous football quarterback, was allegedly paid $55 million. His wife was also allegedly paid $20 million for allegedly 20 hours of their work a year. But Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't just done there. The Major League Baseball had FTX logo on the umpires' uniforms. A multi-year sponsorship with the Mercedes team in Formula One. Remember Kevin O'Leary? Well, he went from hating crypto,
it is a useless currency. It is a useless currency. That's what I believe. I mean,
to becoming a paid spokesperson.
I own 32 different positions, including equity in FTX itself. And I have to disclose I'm a paid spokesperson for that company. I'm backing their initiatives.
The biggest finance YouTubers started receiving multiple six-figure deals with FTX. FTX had become the most dominating force in the crypto world. September 2021 was by far the biggest month for the company, with the volume reaching up to $3.9 billion per day. They even received a license in Bahamas to operate as the digital assets business, eventually moving their headquarters from Hong Kong to Bahamas in early 2021. The Super Bowl ad allowed them to partner up with high-profile companies like the National Football League. FTX also secured a total of $400 million from investors at a billion dollars valuation, and the list goes on. The point is, Sam Bankman was all in, and he wanted to monopolize the crypto space. In November 2022, CoinDesk, the biggest news source of cryptocurrency, drops the bomb. Turns out an insight from Alameda Research had leaked the balance sheet. Now, a balance sheet by itself isn't a problem, but this was different. It showed that 14.9 billion in total is what they owed, and 9.9 billion is what they had taken from the FTX customers' pockets. Now the assets were 21 billion, which is more than what they owe, but more than a third of Alameda Research's assets were in FTT token, a coin made by the sister company FTX. This meant that if there was a bank run, FTX wouldn't have enough liquid assets to complete everyone's request. Moments after the leak, CZ, the owner of Binance, goes on Twitter, "We have decided to liquidate FTT." And even though Caroline, the new owner of the Alameda Research, tried to buy back the tokens, CZ was playing hard to get, stating that "we will stay in the free market." Now, this was really bad for FTX because the biggest name in crypto community was telling his millions of followers that he didn't believe in FTX. As expected, the tweet triggered a panic mode in FTX customers, leading to a cascade of withdrawals. FTT token had lost almost 200% of its value in just 5 days, and it looked like it was just getting started. 20 hours later, we have a good news.
To protect users, we signed a non-binding LOI intending to fully acquire FTX.com and help cover the liquidity crunch.
Sam Bankman tweets,
FTX is fine. Assets are fine.
That the company had enough money to complete all customers' deposits. As it turns out, it was all a front. FTX didn't have any liquid assets to begin with, because 3 days later, FTX filed for bankruptcy and Sam resigned as CEO, tweeting,
"I'm sorry. That's the biggest thing. I fucked up and should have done better."
A convoy of SUVs transporting Sam Bankman arrives at a private jet hangar, and as soon as the private jet is about to take off, the Department of Justice holds an unexpected press conference.
The Southern District of New York has filed charges against Caroline Ellison, the former CEO of Alameda Research, and Gary Wang, a co-founder of FTX. Both Ms. Ellison and Mr. Wang have pled guilty to those charges.
Gary Wang testifies,
"We gave special privileges to Alameda Research on FTX, which allowed it to withdraw unlimited amounts of funds from the platform, and we lied about this to the public. These special privileges included no collateral $65 billion line of credit, special coding to place orders faster than any other customers, and not subject to automatic liquidation."
Caroline Ellison admits that she is guilty of fraud and money laundering, and she quote,
"I sent balance sheets to our lenders at the direction of Sam that incorrectly stated the amount of our assets and our liabilities, and made Alameda's balance sheet look less risky than it really was. We didn't have the liquid assets to pay all the money back, and that we would have to be taking money from FTX.
And whose funds would that be?
That would be coming from customers' funds. The intended effect was to make Alameda look less risky than it really was, and to hide the fact that we were borrowing around $10 billion from FTX customers.
Now, the word was out, and everyone implicated that Sam Bankman was the mastermind of it all. And even then, Sam Bankman pleaded not guilty.
What did you believe was happening with the funds at the time?
So at the time, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening.
You also did an interview hosted by someone named Mario Nawfal. You recall that?
Not specifically, but I'm not saying I didn't.
For the majority of the trial, Sam would continue to avoid answering, and this definitely made him look bad in the eyes of jury and judge. On November 2nd, 2023, the jury found Sam Bankman guilty of all 7 counts and facing up to 110 years in prison. For many, the justice served as a hollow victory, as the scars of FTX will remain a stark reminder of the dark side of crypto. But was FTX really the last case of its kind? I mean, just recently Binance was fined $4.3 billion for money laundering. CZ pled guilty and stepped down as the CEO of Binance.
Today, I stepped down as CEO of Binance. I made mistakes and must take responsibility.
Who knows, this might mark the start of another multi-billion-dollar crypto collapse.